My name is Larry Steele. My current position is station manager for WPUL in Daytona Beach, Florida. I've been in the business since 1976, January 1976 to this current position, 2012, which is a total of 36 years. It's been a journey, and there's a lot of things I can tell you, but it'll take me a while to tell you. So let's just start from the beginning. I got my first job in 1976 at WNOX in Knoxville, Tennessee. I started out as a dubber. So let me clarify what a dubber is. I was going to the Professional Academy of Broadcasting, which is a broadcasting school. It was a 6-month course to learn how to be a disc jockey, better known now as a radio personality. And at that time, they needed a black person. And for those of you who don't understand how hard it is to be in radio, at that time the FCC had affirmative action, and affirmative action said that all stations had to have an African-American black person working for them. So I started working at WNOX in Knoxville, Tennessee, which is a 10,000 watt clear signal, at that time top 40 CHR, what they might call it now. And when I started working there, it was a massive challenge because being an African American, you were thrown into a cookie jar and you had to figure it out for yourself because nobody was trying to help you. Everything I learned at the Professional Academy of Broadcasting was out the door. So for those of you who are in broadcasting school now or in college doing this radio thing, what you learn here is very simplistic. When you get into the real world, it's going to be what it is. I started out as a dubber. What a dubber was at that time, because we didn't have digital back then, I had all the commercials that need to be dubbed on reel-to-reel, which you guys have no clue about what it is. I guarantee you, you don't know what a reel machine is, do you? Well, let's make it simple for you. They would bring me at least 50 to 60 reels in boxes, little white boxes, would say Allstate, it'd say whatever the client was. I would have to take these, put it on this dub machine. I would dub them to cart, which y'all know absolutely nothing about, but I want to tell you what a cart is. Little simple thing about this wide, had tape in it, rotated, and you put the commercial on it, had a splice in it, so if the splice went through, it would make the commercial slur. So in a nutshell, that's where I started at as a dubber in Knoxville, Tennessee. That was my first job. I got my first night on the radio. I'll never forget it. I played Nazareth Love Hurts. And the first thing I said, because I was so nervous, I said, duh! And it was just funny. And Love Hurts was the first record I ever played in my life. So that's where I started. I've also been blessed to work some great places. I went from WNOX to WHBQ in Memphis, Tennessee, which was a biggest station and probably still one of the best places I ever worked in my life. HBQ, I got to work with people like Rick Dees, Paul Mayer. Some of you may not know these people. Dickie Dew Edwards, one of the greatest African Americans ever to hit the radio. He trained me well, and he was tough on me. And I got to work with some real superstars, and that set my career off, because when I got to Memphis, when you get to work in a major market, big market, it makes you either be a man or a mouse. And for those people who really want to work in radio, remember this: there's a difference in small market and major market. Believe it, because the pressure's there every day. You got to perform. And I'll never forget being in Memphis. I was doing all nights from 2 to 6, and you know, they had these liner cards and all these things that you had to execute at the Pacific time, and it was just baffling to me because I had never been in such a fast-paced world, and I had to get it right quick. I almost failed because it was just a little faster than I ever thought it was, but I did. God bless me to get it right. I went from there to work at 96X in Miami, Florida, which was another CHR, great place to work. I went from there, if I can remember correctly, to St. Louis, Missouri, to KMJM in St. Louis, and from there I went from KMJM to be the first African-American morning man at WDIA in Memphis, Tennessee. This, my friends, was probably a pinnacle of black radio at that time. to work at WDI, I replaced a legend. His name was A.C. Muha Williams. Muha had been on the radio for 35 years. So that'll tell you something right there, that you can last a long time. And Muha, we replaced Muha, and I'll never forget that people did not want to accept me when I first came, because they had been listening to A.C. Williams for 35 years in Memphis. And Memphis is a very radio-oriented town. People love their radio, and you had to bring it, and you had to be good at it. And my style was a top 40 style, because I had worked 8 years in CHR top 40 radio for a long time. So I was a CHR jock. I wasn't that black, you know, spit it out all the time kind of jock. And it was a transition, but finally that worked out very well. I left Memphis in 1984. I became the morning man. I replaced Scotty Andrews at V103 in Atlanta. And that was probably the most challenging thing. I became a morning man. I was morning man, and I did mornings for over, about 14 years I did mornings. Mornings was what I did. Mornings is what I became good at. And we'll talk more about that a little bit later on, but mornings is what I did. I worked at V103 and KISS 104 in Atlanta. I moved from that point. I went to Montgomery, Alabama to work at Hot 105.7. Was doing mornings there, and I did mornings there for about 5 years. I went from there, went to Dothan, Alabama, went back from Dothan to Atlanta to work at KISS again. I went to Greenville, South Carolina, Jacksonville, and then I somehow along the way I worked at WTMP in Tampa, Florida. And from there I have been here in this great state of Florida for a while. I got into management. One thing about the transition, being a manager, you know, it's different than being on the radio than being it's different. It's a whole lot different, because management, you're really held responsible for a lot of things. So in a nutshell, that's where I went from Tampa. I worked in Jacksonville, I worked in Miami, and I'm here in Daytona Beach, where I'm station manager at WPUL. I've always said this: if you have a plan, it will work. I don't think AM radio is dead at all. Because I started there, and I know what can make a great AM stay, where there are markets in America where AM still rules. If AM were dead, talk radio stations wouldn't be #1 in Boston and Chicago and Los Angeles and New York and Atlanta. SB is still in the top 5. So they're not dead. So that part is not dead. I think it's the point of, you have to have the resources sometimes. Sometimes with these major conglomerates that have come in and taken over radio stations, the AM gets kicked to the back of the curve unless it already had ratings. If it had ratings, it started out with ratings, then therefore the investment that they have into AM radio is there. Whereas the FM is always the toy. The FM is always going to, because that's what people, that is what current that people want to listen to. FM is a current thing. The first thing people say to you, y'all ain't FM? Well, if you listen to what radio is today, AM signals, and by listening on the telephone, because now the telephone is the way to listen to the radio. People don't need to have an AM signal now as a valuable source, because you go to your Android, your iPhone, or and you can listen to the radio, clear as a button. There's no signal loss. There's no everything. So I don't think AM and FM, I think the difference in AM, FM radio is very popular among young people and those stations that are established. I'll take 94.5 in Orlando, Star 94.5. It's very established. It's very good. It's very consistent. It's very it's just solid with all types of promotions. So it was always taught to me, if you got the 3 T's, time, tools, and talent, it'll always be okay. Those stations will survive because they are big. They've invested their money where it needs to be. The Cox and the people who own them invested great money into them for promotions. They've invested money to make these type of stations work. And all FM stations do not survive because they're FM. They're AM stations that are still kicking FM's butt, and they can't do it because they realize the AM is what makes money. And I go back to SB in Atlanta. SB AM is still killing the FM. You know, in certain markets, the AM is the ruler, especially if it has power. You know, like all AMs, you know, back in, I think when they started dishing out the big watts and 50,000 watts back in 45, I think there was, when they were just giving them away. African American radio stations didn't get a lot of that 50,000 watt stations. You know, the white stations were the 10,000 watters. You got to remember, people have to understand the amplitude modulation on an AM station is a lot bigger than an AM, FM station, 6,000 watts, because you can go a lot farther, especially if you get, especially at night when you've got the wind taking that signal a long way. Man, it's a great thing. So I think AM radio and FM radio is still a valuable place for it. I don't think neither one of them will die anytime soon, but there are other entities around it.
Programming.
Wow.
Old and new.
All right.
What are the biggest differences between radio now and when you took your first job, or when you took your first programming job?
The biggest differences? Corporate radio is taking over. Program directors don't have any leeway whatsoever unless you work for a single owner like I do, who trusts you. Program directors don't have any power anymore in the radio station. They have the corporate PD sends it down. You do exactly as you say. If you don't do exactly as you say it to them to do, there's no creativity in radio stations. It's all bang, 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 bang. I have no problem about the bang, 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 bang. The problem is there is no creativity in what the station is identity. You can tell the difference of the radio station by its branding and its imaging immediately. But is there any other difference that makes you like that radio station? They've taken personalities and just like, I mean, you'll find, and that goes back to the AM FM thing, that if you listen to talk radio, they are personalities. They are personality oriented, and they are talk hosts. They're talking about things that people want to talk about. You can't do that in this age of radio. You know, they tell you to be short and sweet. Say what you got to say. Get out and don't be long. You know, you can't be a minute break for sure. There is no, unless you're a syndicated show. That's the only way that you probably can do a lot of talking. And those are the main things that I see, that corporate programming has just taken over radio. The older way of programming is still a unique process, because you have to have a unique person who's thinking about what they're doing. Because I know that if it were me programming against you, and you would be the same way, you know, you're gonna think of ways to make people look at you. You know, do something offbeat. There's no more. The rock stations still do it. The country stations still do it. But urban stations don't take the chances that these other stations do. Now, the urban and rock still do it. They take the chances. They do outrageous contesting. They let their personalities get on top of buildings and say, look, I'm broadcasting up here on top of the building. Those are the differences I see in old and new. There's not the chance taking anymore. It's very simplistic because of the ratings game, and I know we're going to talk about that, but it's very simplistic. I think the internet is going to I'm not going to say just all in all take everything, but I think more people are listening to the internet, and I think people are going to the internet because it's something that you can hear all over the world. I think that radio is a slow dying breed for two reasons, and the first one is that it's all automation and mechanical, and somebody else is doing it, and you know, it's sooner or later people are running what they want to run, you know, especially if the station's trying to make money. Look, they don't care about a personality to be on there. They don't care. So radio is going to be, it's all about how much money that radio can make. It's not about the community, especially in certain, but there'll be certain places. I think that the internet will just obviously just take over sooner or later. I think for those who are in radio that you need to find another outlet, and I think that you can be able to do your productions. I think you'll be able to do music and all that, but don't think that radio you're going to last like you and I have for a long time. We've lasted because we have bought in. And if you don't buy into some other facet of this business, you're going to go on the outside. Those people are not going to last long. And I think that people need to buy into the new ways that are coming about. We've just talked about a bunch of them. And if you don't buy in, you're going to be left on the wayside. And I think radio is going to eventually, it's 2012, it's still hanging in there. There'll be a new wave of technology for radio probably here in the next 10 years or more. And it'll change because it'll probably be done by satellite. Everything will be satellite soon. Satellites here. The internet's bigger than AM and FM, period. It reaches billions, not millions, or trillions. On my internet station, we reach people in China, Portugal. It's a whole different way of life. The internet is here. I tell people all the time, you can find anything you want on the internet musically. I was looking the other day, I'm going to make this my example. I'm on the Shoutcast. So we're looking up there to see the top stations. There's a station that plays Russian music that has 200,000 people at a time listening to it all over the world. Some radio stations can't buy 200,000 people listen to it all at one time. And they just sit there all day and listen to it. Internet's a monster, man. Internet radio is here to stay. Can't do nothing about it. Live with it, try to be better at it, and learn that the internet, how to market your internet station, because everybody's got a computer, laptop, Android phone, iPhone. There are things that well, we go back to our technology again, because I know because you're the technology guru. Technology's here. Get with the program, folks. That's the one thing. If it's going to hurt radio, it's the internet, because there's nothing they can do about it. And some internet stations sound a lot better than some stations do that if you listen to them.
Wow. Pandora, Spotify, iTunes, Slacker.
Oh, wow.
Sirius Radio.
Oh.
Do these entities have an effect on what is now commercial radio?
Take this for instance. I'm going to make this very clear. Sirius Radio has done the most damage. iTunes has done the most damage because people can hear it. Sirius Radio was a well thought out plan. In every car in America, there's a Sirius Radio. My wife, who is a woman, well, I'm glad she is. She is a Sirius Radio fanatic. She doesn't want to listen to anything else. She tells me that because people they don't play what I can hear on Sirius Radio. Sirius Radio is here to stay. Look, on Sunday afternoon when I get out of church, I ain't got to rush home to watch the football game. I can turn on NFL on Sirius Radio. I can hear the game, which I can't hear on the normal radio channel. I can hear the local. I can hear the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I want to hear what the Giants is doing. I can hear the Giants game. I can hear the Rams game. I can hear everything. Sirius Radio is here. That's real. Facebook has become a major player in all business, especially the entertainment business. Go to our Facebook. There's not a commercial that you can see in America that doesn't have a link to your Facebook. Go there, like us on Facebook. Like this on Facebook. It's just another way of reaching out. Facebook is a major way of reaching out. LinkedIn is a major way of reaching out, reaching people. The social media, Twitter. I was not a Twitterer heavy duty until about a year ago, because I realized that I could reach people that I normally just couldn't talk to on the Twitter, because they will tweet you back. Because I was reaching out one day for John P. Key, so I just went at John P. Key, said something, hit me right back. People tweet. Social media is a part of our lives. A lot of people say, well, I don't want to do that. But you don't have to put your business in the street. It's just like talking to me, you and I having a conversation now. Glenn, can you meet me for lunch tomorrow? Yeah. Okay, I may not get you on the phone. That's another thing. The phone's extinct. Phone is an old thing now. People using social media and emailing. You got the Black College website and Facebook. Look what it's done. You've reached people that have never ever thought to reach out. It's big. And for people, I think sometimes people just underestimate their surroundings a lot. At Facebook, Twitter, all of the social media outlets, and there are more of them coming, that people are using to reach people. And in this day and age, and I go back to technology again, wake up, people. It's here, and it's not going anywhere. Well, first of all, the diary, you can write in it, and you can tell people what you were listening to. That's the first thing. You can get the 7-day book, and the PPM is meant for time spent listening. If you know what the personal people meter is all about, and a lot of people don't understand the personal people meter, but it's built on time spent listening. They want to make sure that you hear what you want to hear all the time. You know this as well as I do. Remember the old days of every 75 minutes? 75 minutes you can hear the same record over and over again, because that was meant to gain cume. The PPM is all about cume, making you listen for that 5-minute period, and hopefully it'll carry you over that 15-minute curve. Because that's what it's quarter average. For those people who don't understand the ACE, AQH, and every quarter hour. The diary is a little booklet that Arbitron will call you 7 days or 2 weeks in advance and ask you, would you like to participate in their survey? The week of the survey, they will send you an Arbitron diary about this long, which has pages, and you'll open it up and it has times in it. And it'll ask you to write down, and it'll ask you two things. They'll ask you two things when they call you. How many people are in your household? So if there's 5 people in the household, they're over 12. Those people will get diaries to keep every day. And you'll write down what you listen to. You'll write down what you don't like and what you dislike. Arbitron takes those calculations, puts them in a survey form, and gives them back to a radio stations telling them what their ratings are, period. You can get a meter, and you got the same person got that meter for almost 6 to 8 months. A meter. I'm talking about one person, the same person got that meter for 8 to 9 months. So that person may not change, because they send it out just like they do diaries. They actually do the zip code, but how many people? The sample is smaller for the PPM, and that's the problem. Because if I send zip codes with like the Hispanic, they still got the high density. They still have high density areas where high density Hispanic, high density Black. Now, if one person or 2 people in high density Black area get meters, and 4 people get high density meters in the Hispanic area, who you think is going to have more people in listenership? The Hispanic station. Only 2 meters went to HDBH, which is a high density Black area. We're not going to get as much. These people may not listen. The problem is our listening habits have changed. Black people aren't loyal to Black stations anymore. Radio is like a supermarket. I got choice A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And sometimes I'll try E. That's the way people listen to the radio now, because radio has changed that much. So it's going to hurt the Black station extremely amount, because their listenership, and that's why you hear these songs. Program directors are so meticulous, especially with the PPM. They running songs over and over again, because yeah, you heard that song an hour ago, but you're gonna hear it again, because now I got to play your song, the same song, over and over again. And it doesn't happen on the adult ACs as much as it does the CHRs or the hip hop stations or crossovers or whatever you might want to call them. More or less the crossover now, because they're playing a variety of songs. So they gonna play. The music has changed, which has caused African American stations to take a hit, especially with the people meter. I'm really concerned about it, because you notice we take the biggest hits and listenership, and it's not measured the same way as a diary. So when they increase, I remember going to Arbitron back in 2001, and they were just designing the personal people meter, and we knew then when they explained it to us that this meter was going to cause African American stations, Black stations, trouble, especially the Black AM, because most stations still, for the smaller stations, they take the hits bad. If you got an FM, which most of them are owned by Clear Channel, which is a crossover station or whichever, those are the ones who really get the ratings, because that's where it attracts it, and that's where it's going to be at. Be a studier. For those just getting in, be a good student of this game. Be a good student. Don't come in with an attitude. A lot of times, you know, radio is a fun. What first thing they taught me was, and this is something I want all y'all to understand, radio is a business first and fun second. The fun go with the business. So now if you having more fun and ain't taking care of the business, you don't last long. Period. That's the best advice I can give you coming in. Because I want you to understand that you're coming in, you just a rookie. You just what you are, a gopher. You're just what you are. That doesn't mean that you're going to be that way. That means you shouldn't think that way. But if you find a Glenn Walker or you find somebody like me that's willing to teach you, just do what we ask you. Then when you grow up to be the big boy, like Nails and you can go on your own, because we won't be with you no more. We ain't that. We here to hold your hand. It's just like your mother and father. We are your fathers to hold your hand in the beginning. Our job is to get you trained, to get you right, understand A, B, C, and E, F, G, and to learn two things. Be on time. Do what people tell you to do. Follow directions. Those are the things that are the minute things that you need to learn right in the beginning. Go to class. If you got a class, be on time. Form good habits. If you can do that, you're going to make it, because we're going to see that. Because you've got to remember, somebody's watching you. And if we see these good habits, the first thing we're going to say is, okay, you're going to be good. Second thing is that I want you to be a good student of the game. You know, get in there and work at it. Just don't go in there. It's like basketball. It's like anything else. You got to work at it to be good. If you're going to be a good radio personality, then you got to work at it. Remember, a doctor has to do internship. All of us got to do internship. We as radio people, we got to learn to do internship. We got to learn to be good. And if somebody's better than you, listen to them and emulate, copy them. Just be good at it. Learn it. You won't last long. I was reading the other day. There are only a few markets where there's still people who work every day as radio personalities. Those jobs are going downhill every day. If you want to be one of them, then you got to work at your craft. It's a serious thing. We ain't lasted this long because we worked at our craft. We want it to be good. We still want to be good because we ain't going nowhere. We ain't ready to sit in the chair yet. So I want you to understand that. We ain't ready to sit in the chair yet. And lastly, for those of you who already got jobs, man, plan for the future. Don't take your job like, okay, I got this job, man, I'm gonna be good. The one thing about radio folks, we get fired quick. They could change formats tomorrow. I hope you heard Mr. Walker say he was working at the station. They came in and changed the format. People don't have to tell you they gonna change the format. They just come in and check it. Tell you we don't need you no more. Always have plan A, B, and C when you're working in a radio station. Period. A, B, C, and D. Have an alternative plan, okay? Make friends with folks at the other radio station. Make friends. Make sure you don't make enemies. That's the one thing about you. They always tell me don't burn bridges. That's the common rule. Just don't burn your bridges. Go to place when you go to conventions. Shake somebody's hand. Know them, so you can get another job. You don't never know who you're gonna need in this business. You don't never know who you're gonna need. Believe me. Hey, don't have an attitude. Shake it. Look, good to meet you. Can I call you sometime? Look, that person may need somebody when you need a job. Those are the things I want you to remember. Because let me tell you something. This business is, and I don't want to scare you, but this business can be fickle at times. Don't underestimate it. You know, there are a lot of people who have went from job to job to job to job. I can tell you this much. My average job for over 36 years, I've stayed on for 5 to 6 years. I have been one of the lucky ones. I have, and I admit that. So if you want to follow in my footsteps, I want you to follow in your footsteps, but to have a good track record, just go in, do your job, have fun doing it, make some money, save some money, and keep on doing what you do. Remember, we out here to help you.